Hey, everybody. Welcome to Babu's Frickin' Podcast. Thanks so much for joining us in our galaxy far, far away. I am Mike Chiodi Ruby, and as always, I'm joined by the Jedi Council. First up, back from his glorious first trip to Disneyland, taking his California adventure, and clean shaven, I might add, for those of you who can't see him, Grand Moff Mark Valentine. So Disneyland is the new place to be, yeah?
Hello there. Yeah, I am obsessed, simply obsessed with Disneyland. Big victories on all fronts. Mike, as a person who knows my neuroses and lack of wanting to fly cross country, you know how big of a deal it was for me to get on a plane to enjoy said journey west and to live my best life over in Los Angeles slash Anaheim. But man, it was great. And oddly enough, I was there when Celebration was going on 1 block away from my hotel. Cosplay everywhere.
Outstanding. And
I can't believe you did.
yeah, why you didn't pull some mind tricks? Kind of slide, do a little Obi in the shadows, slide on in.
No, so the funny thing is there were a few people that were staying at our hotel that had wristbands, and I engaged them in conversation in the elevator in the lobby and whatnot, and they were all like, "Dude, they're not checking wristbands. Just come on in." And I'm like, "No, I'm okay. Like I'm a rule follower. I'm not just gonna like walk in on the floor." And they were like, "No one's gonna notice. I mean, you can't get into panels, but like no one's gonna notice if you just come on the floor." And I was tempted, but the other thing was there was just so much in parks to keep me occupied that I really I was in a bubble for days. Like I even told you guys, I had no clue what had even happened at Celebration. Like I wasn't following any of it. I had Boba Fett appearing for the first time in Galaxy's Edge. So I spent much of my time hunting down the most notorious bounty hunter in the galaxy. I was looking for the daimyo of Mos Espa. That was
You got you
my
got you got the picture though. You tracked him Chrysanthemum style.
I really did. We got him on his first pass too. Dude, I could not find Fennec Shand. No matter what I did, everyone would be like, "Oh, Fennec was over in the marketplace." I could not find Fennec. I went on a hunt for her later on at night, and the cast members, I was trying to be like fun about it too. And I'm like, "Hey, I just flew in from Coruscant and I'm looking to find Fennec Shand. Now, word has it that she frequents the marketplace. How many credits is that kind of information going to, cost me? Like, if I can figure out where she is, I have a mission for her from the guild, but it's for her eyes only. So I really can't tell you, or I'm going to have to kill you." And the cast members were fun about it, but they were like, we don't know. Hey, Justin, what's going on? Justin Grant is joining us in the comment section. We're live here, gentlemen, yet again.
Outstanding. Yeah, we missed you last week. We were not live last week, but Brian and I recorded at an ungodly hour because we were just dying to talk about Obi-Wan. So back with us this week, hopefully a little bit better rested, Brian Joe Yowza Lee. Brian, how you hanging in, man?
I don't know if better rested is quite the right word, but man, it's just been a busy week at work. But the Colorado Avalanche are up 3-0 in the series, so life is good.
Awesome. I mean, this is what, our fourth podcast in 7 days. We're talking Star Wars, talking Marvel, talking Top Gun. You can't get enough of me. Just admit it, Brian.
That is true. I can't quit you, man.
Well, and how's this for a segue? If you can't quit this podcast, remember, hit like, hit submit. Most of all, share it with your friends. So much to talk about this week, fellas. It even got the William Shatner treatment. So much to talk about. Chiefly Obi Wan Kenobi episode 3, which was the talk of the Star Wars world. But first, we got to start with the big buzz coming out of Star Wars Celebration. There was so much that went down, as you said last week, Mark. It's because you were there. It was your sheer magnetism of the Force that brought everything out. The forces were at play. So let's start it off in no particular order, but we'll go with the thing that's really powering all of modern day Star Wars. Mando season 3 You can't see it on the regular, but if you look carefully on the TikToks or the Twitters or the other places that it should not be, you can peep a pirated version of the trailer that they dropped. Although Mark says that there may be other ways to access said contraband. So,
No,
guys,
he's a rule follower, so he's shaming you and me.
rule
No.
follower, shaming me.
I'm gonna channel my inner Dana Carvey and say, not gonna do it, not gonna do it. I'm not gonna watch it. I don't want to. Yeah, I don't want to see a bootlegged copy of The Mandalorian season 3. But and I'm sure it's fantastic. But when I see it, I want to see it in all of its glory in full HD on YouTube being put out by Lucasfilm. I don't want to see it early in grainy footage. I can't do it.
Brian, did you do as I did, like back in the old days when you'd have to like pirate the pay-per-views? Did you watch the fuzzy version? Did you look between the lines to try and find?
I found it.
Try and find Grogu. Yes. And what are your thoughts about what we've learned about season 3 over the last week?
I got into a Facebook argument a couple months ago by somebody saying it was coming in December, and I knew it was. I knew it was possible it would be in December, but I also knew it was very possible it wouldn't. So then I spent way too much time trying to find that argument just so I could tag that person in it. It was some random dude. I have no idea who it was.
Dude, that's so amazing that you went back and found the thread.
I didn't find it. I tried so hard though. No, like I can't wait for it, man. Like it's exactly what we thought it was going to be. We're going to be like of descriptions of the trailer. Like there's no spoilers here. We're going to be going back to Mandalore. We're going to be trying to figure it out. Bo-Katan seems to be, she's going to be a massive presence within this entire season. I can't wait for it. I need Din Djarin in my life and our sweet, sweet boy Grogu. That still everything that we got out of Celebration, that is still my number one most excited thing. Just because I love The Mandalorian. Like Ahsoka, obviously, I'm very in on as well, and we'll talk about that. But I love The Mandalorian. I can't wait for it to come back.
Mike,
yeah, really Bo-Katan looks to be the big. Sorry, Mark. Just to feed on that. Yeah, Bo-Katan looks to be set up to be the big bad rolling into next season, which is pretty darn interesting as she continues her obsession with the Darksaber. Mark, go ahead, man.
I was just going to say, gentlemen, as a point of inquiry and as a man who was truly out of the loop, did Favreau announce at Celebration definitively season 4 for The Mandalorian as well? I know that we had mentioned that in our group chat, but hasn't been word on.
I'm glad you brought that up. There was an interview that he was doing on a red carpet where he was talking about the interviewer asked him about Ahsoka, and I don't know whether he slipped or he just didn't care. But he said, we're seeing what's happening with Ahsoka, which is all very exciting, and it's all tied together, which is influencing how I'm currently writing Mandalorian season 4.
Okay,
so so it's not like we've gotten like an official announcement from Lucasfilm about season 4 or any idea of where it is or what it is. But JF has said without any reservations that he's writing it.
Okay. Fair enough.
So that leads us then to Ahsoka, which in the timeline, we should be getting Ahsoka next year. They're currently in production on it. There was they had a session at Celebration with Rosario Dawson, as well as the actress who's been cast to play Sabine. They've dropped a teaser trailer. Within it looks like we can also see Hera. This is very exciting, gentlemen.
We don't know who's playing Hera yet. I heard that there is images of I can't remember the actress's name. Bordizzo is her last name. As Sabine. I haven't seen that picture. I guess a lot of people are very impressed, but I'm just looking forward to live action Chopper, baby. That's all I need in my life.
It's all very bootleggy at this point. So again, I'm sure Mark will be living in his cone of silence until we get something more official. Go ahead, Mark.
I was just going to say Rebels is just a really exciting property. It's really good. I mean, even if you're not a fan of animation, the writing is so solid on Rebels. Any opportunity that we have to bring that cast and that story arc into the live action universe and continue to flesh out the story of the Rebels, I'm all for that, man. Like, I'm really excited about Ahsoka. I think Rosario Dawson does a really great job of porting her over to the live action universe. I mean, Ashley Eckstein's done such a great job with the voice acting and is Ahsoka for all intents and purposes. But I was nervous about Rosario Dawson. I'm going to be really clear about that. I I love some of her work in some of her films, and other stuff she doesn't really impress me all that much. So I didn't know, was this going to be hit or miss Rosario Dawson for me? I like the way that she has played Ahsoka. I think she's brought a lot of maturity to the role. It's nice to see. I know she's not a Jedi Master anymore. I we can get into a discussion on what she is on the pantheon of Force users, but as a Force user, it's nice to see her maturing in her development as a Force user. And I've really liked the work
Well,
that she's done thus far in The Mandalorian. So I'm excited for this. And of all of the projects, I'm like one of the only guys that's excited about Andor. Andor and Ahsoka are the two projects I'm most excited for.
Can I
I've
spitball
changed.
on Ahsoka real quick before we go to Andor?
Yep. Yeah, go for it.
I if we are getting Hera, which all indications would very much make a lot of sense. I hope we get live action Zeb as well. What if part of the entire Ahsoka storyline is training Jason Syndulla to be a Jedi of some sort? Like, I think that would be a lot of fun. So I'm all for that. I think there's a lot of casting still to come. We know Ezra's going to be in this show. We know Thrawn's going to be in this show. So we still have a lot more to look forward to when it comes to Ahsoka. But honestly, I started thinking about the prospects of Jason Syndulla being, I mean, he'd be in his 20s by this point. He'd be a late teenager. Like, it'd be a lot of fun. But go ahead, Mike.
No, I mean, that's a really interesting thing that you bring up there, especially because that would mean if Ahsoka was having anything to do with his training, that she's keeping him out of Luke's academy. So
Right.
that's that would be a bold choice on her part. But Andor's real. So to go from the hypotheticals, we know for certain what's coming up with Andor and with Bad Batch. So we're going to get Star Wars shows back to back. Andor comes out August 31st. Bad Batch returns September 28th. I was not super excited, as I've said before, about Andor. I was like, yeah, I'll watch it. It'll be fun. I'm very excited by what came out of the Andor trailer.
Yeah.
I think there's something really cool about not just the formation of the rebellion that we're going to be getting out of it, but I like how we're starting to see, and this has also come up. Brian and I talked about this last week in Obi Wan. We are seeing how the Empire manifests and what the interesting political intrigue is between the upper class and the lower class, and that there are actually fans of the Empire. I mean, we'll talk about that, I'm sure, with Obi-Wan Episode 3 in a little bit. I like that we're getting something that's a little bit deeper than just here's one guy who found his way into the rebellion. I like that Mon Mothma is going to be a much more fleshed out character, and we're going to see her transformation from a senator who has some issues with what's going on in the Senate to being a full-on leader of the rebellion, alongside Bail Organa and ultimately Princess Leia. So, guys, what did you think of the Andor trailer? And for that matter, the Bad Batch trailer. Let's talk about both.
Go ahead, Bri.
So honestly, for Andor, what made me significantly more excited, you guys are both fans of Cassian more than I am. Like, I like Cassian, but I feel like I got most of my fill within Rogue One. But what honestly got me more excited is Tony Gilroy, who's the showrunner writer. He's got a plan. He's got an arc. He's got a 12-episode season 1, a 12-episode season 2, and a 12-episode season 3, which is going to end at the beginning of Rogue One. So I want to see, not to go full-blown DJ from The Last Jedi here, but I want to see Cassian doing some really unethical things in the name of the rebellion, and kind of how dirty the quote unquote good guys can be. I want to see this Breaking Bad in the Star Wars universe more than what we got in episode 2 of Obi Wan Kenobi. But I want to see things get really muddy and gray, and how Cassian handles that, because he straight up kills that guy in cold blood at the beginning of Rogue One. Like, he'll do things that the normal quote unquote good guy shouldn't do. And I think that that's far more interesting. I think we're going to deal with some of his childhood as well. We didn't see K2SO in that trailer, and we need more K2SO. And I know Alan
he's
Tudyk's
not in season 1.
He's not in season 1, really.
No, he is reportedly not a character in season 1, which I was very disappointed to hear. So I'm sorry to cut you off, but I didn't want to lose it.
My you could say my expectations were high. They were very high. That's a bummer. Go ahead, Mark.
Yeah, I would like to be very wrong, but I've read several articles that have called out that K2 is not a season 1 character.
Bummer.
Please prove me wrong, Galaxy. Marco, your take?
Well, I like Cassian. I like that he's compromised as a hero. I like the fact that he's been forced to make some really tough choices and do some really unethical things in order to accomplish these missions. So I like that gritty backstory. So as a character, I really like him. But the thing I think I like, and there was an interview that came out right around the time that Rogue One was released, that just gave me a really great perspective. And I really loved just a fan who was giving an interview of Mexican descent, saying he cried seeing himself represented in the Star Wars universe, and seeing someone who had an accent, and seeing someone who was very clearly Latino in the Star Wars universe, that he was moved to tears. And the thing that I like about the Mandoverse, the thing I like about what Kathleen Kennedy is doing, I'm loving the diversity and the cast of characters that have been brought to the forefront. And if we could, gentlemen, I don't want to live in this non-toxic space, but let's face it. I mean, like, there's the elephant in the room right now of what's going on with a certain subsect of the Star Wars fandom, of the bullying that's going on surrounding Obi Wan Kenobi. And I just want to go on record, and I want to put this to rest. I like seeing people of color in the Star Wars universe. I think it's important. I love seeing representation. I love the fact that Cassian Andor is going to carry a series, and I love the fact that he is a Latino. And to me, like, that's one of the favorite things that I love about him as a character. I love getting a full-fleshed Lando series. I love seeing people of color in these roles. And if you can't handle that, and if you feel compelled to bully actors of color, then leave. Like, I have no other way of saying that except please leave the fandom, because you do not represent Star Wars fans as a whole. And Ewan McGregor should never be forced to take to social media to defend an actor or an actress who's portraying a role and doing their job. And it's one of the uglier things that I think has come out of the Star Wars universe in a long time. I hate to see it. And I love doubling down on this. And that's why I'm going to be rooting for Cassian. And I'm going to say to the writers of the Star Wars universe, like, push back, and please push back even harder. Like, I want you to cast more people of color in these primary roles. And I want to get more series that focus on these characters, and let's flesh out a narrative. It's a beautiful tapestry of a universe. And I think that there's a lot more story to be told than from like that white male perspective. Gentlemen,
sci-fi has always been you're 100% right. I mean, sci-fi has always been a progressive art form. It's been meant to be this way. And so, the other Star property, Star Trek, broke barriers when they had the first interracial kiss on television between Kirk and Uhura. Like, this is what good science fiction is supposed to be. It's supposed to be inclusive and representative, and it's supposed to have it's supposed to look at the challenges that we have within our society, and being able to kind of look at them in an abstract fashion by saying it's far in the future, or it's in a galaxy far, far away. But the commentary and the examination is very much about the things that are happening in our lives right now. And this level of toxicity from folks is just, there's no place for it in any franchise, let alone one that's as meaningful as Star Wars to so many people.
And I apologize for pivoting to that, but it truly is one of the things that I like about Cassian. I love the fact that that people of color and Latinos look to Cassian and they see themselves reflected in this hero in the Star Wars universe. And the fact that we're getting several seasons with this character, that it's not a one and done thing. I love the fact that more and more boys and girls get to see themselves represented in this intellectual property. Brian and I are going to talk about the Avengers campus, and it's the same thing that I see going on with the Marvel Cinematic Universe right now. Seeing boys and girls meeting America Chavez, seeing them move to tears, seeing the boys go up to T'Challa and salute T'Challa, that kind of stuff, man. I want to bottle that kind of magic and that kind of energy, and I want to put it somewhere, and I want to give it to people in the world who need that, because that's the kind of stuff that makes this world a better place and makes it go around. Characters like this and adding them to the tapestry of the Star Wars universe is what makes it inherently better. So I'm psyched, and I'm sorry to get into that gutter right now of what's going on, but I wanted to try to direct it as much as I can and say, like, shame on those fans for what they're doing. I don't want to spend too much time on it, but like, that's me kind of chiding them as positively as I can. I'm so sorry to have taken us in that direction, gentlemen. Please.
I would just like to
You
simply
don't.
say I echo
No apologies necessary.
I echo everything that you said, Mark, because that does come on the back end of me saying that I didn't care much for the character of Cassian Andor outside of Rogue One. So I just want to make sure that nobody thinks that I think the opposite. Mark, whatever Mark said is absolutely correct, and keep giving it to everybody that needs it. Like, needs I use intentionally, because it's something that this fandom means a lot to a lot of people. And if you think you're a gatekeeper, go away.
Bravo.
Yeah, and no apologies necessary, Mark. I mean, that was sadly one of the biggest stories that we had in Star Wars this past week was the unfortunate behavior that a number of, I hesitate to even call them fans, I would just say people, have said about certain performances in Obi Wan Kenobi. So let's move back to something that's definitely inclusive, if illustrated or animated. And that's, we've got a bunch of animation announcements. We've got the Bad Batch season 2 coming out at the end of September, with apparently some lightsaber swinging Wookiees in the trailer.
We know it's now September 28th. So are we going to get Cassian and are we going to get Andor and Bad Batch running together for 8 weeks?
Possibly.
Quite possibly. I mean, that's crazy. We may need to add some time onto our podcast, gentlemen. Like, you're not going to be able to shut us up.
Well, Bad Batch, yeah, but think about this. Bad Batch, they had hyped up Bad Batch, and it didn't perform as well as they had anticipated. So I don't think that they're looking to put Bad Batch to stand on its own. It didn't do that well. It really didn't.
That's fair.
It didn't pull in the viewers that they thought, and it's animated. The animated stuff doesn't.
And it's shorter, it's lighter.
So I wouldn't doubt them running those two shows concurrently.
Marvel and Star Wars overlapping is one thing, because it's two different things. But yeah, there must be something in the numbers that says the Bad Batch didn't necessarily drive subscriptions, but it's worth obviously having.
We were excited about it, and then it was.
I'm still excited about it. I think, like Mike said, lightsaber wielding Wookiees, man. That's what, I can't remember his name, but he was in the Clone Wars, the Wookiee youngling, and he's back.
Plus, we had some issues with where things went in the season, but like the last we got back on the horse. We got back on the bantha by the last episode of
I think we're still going to spend way too much time with Sid, but
it wasn't horrible. It was the best of times. It was the worst of times.
And it's still left us with a really interesting cliffhanger, so it'll be interesting to see where we pick up in terms of the Kaminoans who've been taken to the Empire's, the Imperial cloning facilities. We've got Kamino was destroyed with, seemingly leaving one of the Bad Batch trapped down beneath, because Crosshair got trapped down beneath. And then, maybe we'll actually get what I wanted all along, which is we'll get our real A-team in space, with these guys back now that they're kind of separated. But 2 other animated series were announced for next spring. So the Young Jedi Adventures, which is apparently supposed to be set during Clone Wars era, and then season 2 of Visions. So you're grimacing, Mark, but you're ready for your next Tatooine rock show.
I will watch both. I liked Visions. I really did. I mean, some of the
I know it's like Jabba-Palooza, man. You're ready.
I liked Visions. I was one of when we had Robert and Anthony on for that show. I thought
Robert
and Alex, thank you, it was Alex. I liked that episode. Like we had a little fun dabbling in anime with Star Wars. I just think it's a creative medium. Visions is a very creative medium. It's nice to tell these one-offs. It's cool to have these episodes, and they don't have to go anywhere. We can just live in singular episodes and appreciate the animation. We're doing these things within the Force that, let's face it, don't have to make sense because they're not canon. It's fun. I don't know about the other stuff. I like Brian and I say all the time, I'm going to consume it because it's Star Wars, but
no.
It didn't turn the dial for me.
No, it turns the dial for me because what Spidey and his amazing friends has done on Disney Junior for my kids under the age of 4, like my 1.5-year-old will watch Spidey and his amazing friends on loop. Now I can have a Star Wars show that is going to be in the similar manner. Dude, I need it. I need it in my life because I can get my kids already care about Star Wars. Now I can do it. Like Parker loves Spidey and his amazing friends because we kind of forced it upon her. Her name is Parker after all. But like now we're going to do a Disney Junior show within the Star Wars galaxy. Like it's not for you, man. Like it's not. I'm so stoked. I'm so stoked about them doing that. I'm excited for season 2 of Visions. I hope we continue a couple of the stories, at least in a couple of them, and obviously with some new fresh ones. And then we've got another animated one is Tales of the Jedi, which we'd seen the logo for quite a while. Now we know what it is. It's going to be a 6-episode short film series, which is going to tell about Ahsoka as a child or something like that. We don't know many more details.
Oh, I'm sorry, I got it mixed up. Yeah, I'm sorry, I got it mixed up. That's the one that's set during the Clone Wars era. I had that mixed up with Young Jedi Adventures. Two more properties to talk about, and then we're going to dive into Obi-Wan. So we ended up getting much more information much more quickly than certainly at least I expected. They dropped a lot on us about Skeleton Crew during Celebration. So Skeleton Crew, we had talked about a couple weeks ago when we were all together. This show is going to be like Goonies in space. It is directed by and run with John Watts, who did the Marvel Spider-Man films. So he's coming off of No Way Home. It's being written by Christopher Ford, who wrote Spider-Man Homecoming and also wrote The Fuzz. And apparently Ford said during Celebration, quote unquote, that while the show will be about kids, it is not necessarily for kids. And we've also gotten word that the principal actor in the show, although it's going to have this crew of kids, is none other than the talented Mr. Ripley himself, Jude Law.
Okay.
That's it. Huh?
Yeah, Mark's response is simply to kind of frown a bit like Robert De Niro, and just,
I'm sold. Okay.
It's
Stranger Things in space.
That's what I'm expecting.
Son of a bee, I'm in. Let's go. Like, all right, cool. Like you had me at about kids and not for kids. Son of a bee, I'm in. Let's go.
Son of a building block. It's Woody. Yeah. If it's Stranger Things in space, like I'm totally in.
Yeah. Like you had me. I'm good. Okay. Let's go.
I would take with a name like Skeleton Crew. Like I would take it. It was like Space Camp. I'm gonna date myself here. Do you guys remember Space Camp?
Yeah, I love. Yeah, with what's her name from Howard the Duck?
Leah Thompson and
course,
Sarah Jessica Parker.
Did you seriously just take Leah Thompson and say from Howard the Duck, not Back to the Future?
Absolutely. That's how I am. That's how I roll.
The Duck.
Greg would be proud.
Yeah. Not to mention Academy Award winner Joaquin Phoenix.
All right.
Yeah, that was a great movie. They get blasted into Tom Skerritt is in that movie.
Yeah.
Viper himself.
I have to watch Space
Kate
Camp
Capshaw. That's a great movie. And yeah, the kids get blasted into space. They're at Space Camp. They're in the shuttle, and then they have, these kids have to fly it back because when they take off, the only real astronaut sitting in the shuttle gets injured.
That's a good one. I gotta
I
watch
love
that
80s
and The Last Starfighter. I'm gonna watch that and The Last Starfighter back to back.
I don't even think I've heard of Space Camp. Like you're
Oh.
describing this, I like not only have I not seen it, I don't think I've even heard of it. I
Space
didn't know
Camp and like
back then.
Space Camp and Flight of the Navigator were like similar times and eras. Like,
I like
solid. The other one is, so unless I misheard, guys, it sounds like the next time we are going to get a Star Wars feature film is 2025, and it will be directed by none other than Korg himself, Taika Waititi.
Everything I've read is it's still going to hit the theatrical release of 2023.
Oh, I read that's because I can't read, guys. It's late 2023. I thought it was a 5.
Okay.
I can't read.
Yeah,
You're right.
It should be next Christmas.
Late 2023. I'm interested in this, guys, because the branding for this, it has no name, but the branding looks like the old school, like Star Wars comic books. It's a little like kind of
neon
nostalgic. Yeah, it's kind of in the way that there's that kind of weird neon nostalgic feel to the way they branded both of Taika's Thor films.
So
I don't know, guys.
Under 3 characters being voiced by Taika Waititi in the movie. Over under.
Hey man. Under 3.5. I mean maybe 2. In adjacent Taika news, Our Flag Means Death was renewed for season 2 this week.
Brilliant. I love it.
That man can do no wrong.
Nope.
There's a TikTok out there that just talks about this girl who's talking about Taika Waititi, and she's like, we need to lower our expectations. He's not perfect. Like, eventually he's going to do something that not everybody agrees with. And then somebody from off screen goes, you heard he's making a Star Wars movie, right? And she goes, what? And she starts crying. And she's like, it's just going to be so good. Like, it's perfect. I love it. Can't wait for it, man.
The revolution has begun. So guys, we've somehow been able to restrain ourselves because there's been so much out of celebration, but we got to get into episode 3, guys, because I think I told both of you I was in denial watching this episode. Not in a bad way. I was sitting there watching it going, I don't believe this is really happening. Is this really happening on my screen? Am I really seeing Darth Vader dueling with Obi Wan Kenobi on my screen? And then things got really violent, and I said, is Darth Vader really doing what he's doing on my screen? This episode was intense. With also some really nice mudhorn eggs along the way. Shall we start as we always do? So one of my favorite parts of the episode, guys, and I'm curious for your take on this, was Freck the Mole Man. So the episode is Obi and Leia land on a distant mining planet in the mid-rim. This is where they've been sent by Haji in order to be able to find help to usher them back to Alderaan, and they are there impatient. They don't wait for the proper person to pick them up, and they meet what I can't describe any better than as a mole man who is going to take them back to town. The mole man is voiced by Scrubs star Zach Braff. Wonderful little mudhorn egg there. And he's rolling into town with an Imperial flag on the back of his cosmic pickup truck. And he is a big super fan of the Empire. What did you guys think about our the mole man for the Empire, Freck, and the entire scene that plays out with Obi and Leia trying to find safe haven among all the stormtroopers and the Imperial sympathizers?
I thought it was Seth Rogen. Like, I mean, I knew it was. I found out it was Zach Braff, but I thought it was Seth Rogen. I mean, it makes a ton of sense. Like, he's acting all friendly, and then he picks up the stormtroopers, which was oddly intense. Like, again, this show has to walk a really fine line because the stakes are different because we know Leia's going to make it out of this. We know Ben's going to make it out of this. So we don't really know exactly how things are going to go. So, but I think the fact that he didn't Jedi mind trick the Stormtrooper was a surprise to me. The way Leia's reading everything that Obi-Wan is saying about her mother, like she's finally learned, okay, you knew who my mother was. Like, are you my father? And his exact response is, I wish I were. Like, and people have taken that he had a crush on Padme, which is kind of funny to think about. But it's just he wants, like, he doesn't have the heart to tell Luke who his father is, so he's not going to have the heart to tell Leia who her father is either. But watching how much reverence and respect that Obi-Wan had for Padme was something that we didn't see a lot of in the prequels that we're now getting a really good. I think the stuff we got in part 2, when he was talking about her being stubborn like her mother, I think all that was really interesting. I love the relationship that Obi-Wan has with Padme now that we're seeing more of it. And I think that was really interesting. I thought we were going to get a Jedi mind trick on the Stormtroopers we have to see a Jedi mind trick before this episode's over. But I thought Freck was good. He takes them right to the Empire because he doesn't trust them at all. I thought all that was really interesting. Again, stakes or no stakes. Like, I thought it was really well done.
Yeah, I mean, yeah. I didn't trust him from go. Seeing the Imperial flag was like the guys that drive around with the Confederate flag on their pickup truck. I was like, ooh, big red flag there. But you guys touched on this last week, how Obi-Wan has suppressed his Force usage to try to mask himself from exactly what happens. The first time he does start to use the Force, I think he then puts himself on the radar for Darth Vader, who's got that deep connection to Obi-Wan. And when Darth Vader appears, he's wasting through civilians again to try to flesh out Obi-Wan Kenobi. He's trying to get him to use the Force, and he's trying to get him to slip up. And even though he doesn't use the Force, when he looks back at the wall and see that those civilians have just disappeared within an instant, he knows that they must have had help. And that's the red herring to him. That's when he says Obi-Wan has to be in that direction. Obi-Wan's been really careful for many years, and he's out of practice. We see just how out of practice he is in this episode when, oh my God, the once mighty Obi-Wan Kenobi can't even function in the duel that we waited for. You guys speculated and talked about this on last week's episode. This was not the duel that we were expecting.
Well, and I was way wrong. I was like, we're not going to get the duel for a while. Brian, you and I both were like, we're not going to get the duel for a while. Like, maybe we'll get one, maybe we'll get two, but like, it's not going to happen for a while. You called it. They were going to start episode 3 with Vader, suiting up. So we had Vader's morning routine minus brushing his teeth, but we got the rest of the suit up. But yeah, let's not bury the lead here, gentlemen. Let's get right into the duel. Because it's obviously the biggest thing that the duel and him getting lured out have been the biggest things that people have talked about this week. Vader returns to true evil form. I think that we have all been somewhat tempted over the last 20 years because we met Anakin and because we learned who he is and because there is the quote-unquote redemption of Darth Vader at the end of Return of the Jedi, to somehow sympathize with this tortured soul in the suit. Even when he comes out and wrecks all of the rebels, in Rogue One, we still were kind of somehow rooting for him as like the cool bad guy, like the anti-hero. He's not anymore. Like this episode, him walking out there and viciously, mercilessly, indiscriminately slaughtering civilians and not even thinking twice.
Yeah, he's killing.
I said he's a monster. He's a monster. Yeah. Like, you can't think about Darth Vader any other way again. Brian, what did you think about the Force choking, neck snapping, dragging and torturing civilian experience that we had with Darth Vader?
There's one more thing I wanted to touch on with the Stormtroopers, and that's the guy falling from the roof and then getting cut in half by a laser. That was awesome. And there was also
this show is not for kids.
There was also some real what's the Nicolas Cage movie, the newest one where they him and Pedro Pascal just could walk around the wall. They should have just walked around the laser fence and it would have been fine. No, Vader is, I've been saying it for weeks. Like, I expect super violent stuff like Rogue One on steroids, and that's exactly what we're getting. Like, not only did he snap somebody's neck, it was a kid. Like, he had no regard whatsoever for anything that he was doing. And I wanted to see some, like, it makes me sound like a psycho when I say I wanted to see some really violent stuff, but that's what we're getting. Like, like a lightsaber just being touched to the ground and lighting it on fire was awesome. But you said it best, Mike. Vader is a monster. Like, you can't root for this guy the way he's being portrayed. And that's, I mean, which is weird because we love Vader. Like, that's the whole point why we were so excited to see him. It's so dark and so scary and so much of everything I wanted from Darth Vader in this series.
There's a lot of sentiment on social media where people do offer some like kind of like worship or they idolize Darth Vader and they see him as an anti-hero. Mike and I have this discussion on the regular. He's not an anti-hero. Like, he's a monster and he's a villain.
Yeah, he's not Deadpool.
Yeah, you can root. Like, listen, you can root. I'll be it for me to tell you like who you want to fanboy over or root for. But like, there's no debate or discussion here. He's not redeemable. He's a war criminal. There's a vast difference between him tearing through a starship full of rebel troopers that are actively trying to end him and that are shooting lasers, and he's cutting through them like a hot knife through butter. While that's brutal, and you can make an argument and say, like, look at how evil he is. They're combatants. Like, that's war. War is hell. He's going after non-combatants here. These are civilians who have no stake in the game. They're literally sitting on their main street, and he snaps the kid's neck. I mean, you look at something like this, and like Mike just said, he's irredeemable. I can never look at Anakin Skywalker's Force Ghost the same way. Like, there's no warm and fuzzies for me in that moment now because of what has happened in Obi Wan. I'm sorry.
Yeah, I don't know how they can embrace him as a Force Ghost. I'm struggling a bit with how they're going to treat him in Ahsoka, because if he comes back as a Force Ghost in Ahsoka as opposed to doing flashbacks,
yeah,
how can you want anything to do with him? Like, you can't. It's just, we've all been told about the stories, but I think we all forgot since the original trilogy just how brutal and awful he is. And it's different, as Mark, as you just said, it's different and it's kind of fun or funny when he's killing Imperial officers because they're also jerks.
Yeah.
So when Admiral Ozzel bites it, or Captain Nita has his apology, fine, they're evil. But this is totally irredeemable stuff, and it sets the stage for just how awful and irredeemable Kylo Ren is when he kills an entire village on Jakku. Like, they are indiscriminately killing civilians.
Yeah, I mean, and this isn't something that's going to escape Dave Filoni's attention. I do honestly think there's going to be some serious reconciliation with Vader and in the Ahsoka series, however he appears, whether it's Force Ghost or whatever. I mean, everybody thought that Filoni kind of forgot that Bo-Katan was handed the Darksaber, and then it was like a central plot point. I think this is something that won't escape their attention. I'm curious how they're going to be able to address it, because you guys are correct. Like, just because you came back to the light side doesn't mean everything's all forgiven. So it's going to be interesting to watch it play out. But I want to just put this, I don't want to have the discussion now, but I do want to put this out there. Once the series is over, I want to have a discussion of, does this quote unquote ruin canon from how often, let's see how often Obi-Wan and Darth Vader meet, because that was not a learner and a master, like becoming the master. Like, that was scared Obi-Wan. Like, you can't say last time we met, I was but the learner, now I'm the master, because that's, if this isn't probably the last time they're going to meet. But I'm curious. And again, I just want to put this out there on your guys' mind so you can start thinking about it, so we can talk about it when the show's over. I don't, disappointed is not the right word, because I will take as much Darth Vader versus Obi-Wan as I can get, but it's interesting to see Obi-Wan.
It undermines that line from A New Hope. If
it does,
as we currently stand, the line does not make any sense now.
But
However,
also, 45 years later, we came up with a new story, and that's your answer. I mean, I'm fine with that.
but we also
they'll fix it.
Yes, we also have 3 more episodes. We're holding out for one more final duel. I mean, he's got it. He's got to go back and sit in the corner. He's got to talk to Mick. He's got to hook up with Jedi Mick in the corner, and Qui-Gon's got to give him the little cut, bleed him a little bit, hit him with the squirt bottle of water.
If he dies, he dies.
Yeah, pepper him up with a little bit of inspiration as his corner man, and then he's got to send him back into battle.
Well, look, we got to use Obi-Wan's own words against him. He must face Darth Vader again.
Yes.
Yeah, there has to be another meeting. And, Brian and I talked about this last week, Mark, that, this is equally unseating canon a little bit in terms of establishing a relationship with Leia and Obi-Wan. And my hope is that they actually imbue some of her pleas for help that she sends in her message in A New Hope with something that happens in these next couple episodes.
Not being on last week's episode, I liked that discussion that you guys had, but more importantly, I think that this does bolster the reason why she does reach out to Obi-Wan in A New Hope, that they do have a past, that they have a relationship, that she knows when push comes to shove, when there is no hope, that there's only one person that she can call upon. And to me, this really does, I think, add a lot of flavor to why she reaches out to Obi Wan Kenobi specifically. Some of the lines then are a little bit formal for me, like the transmission with R2-D2, which is what I thought. And I mean, we're really getting into the weeds. I know we're not going to have time, but you served with my father during the Clone Wars. It's like, dude, he knows.
Yeah, we talked
about
about this last week. Yeah, I think it's performative in case something were to happen. But I'm confident they're going to solve that. It's too blatant and too easy. But guys, we
know it was exposition when it was written, but now with this new relationship, it just it makes it seem a little bit awkward.
I think they'll figure it out. I have faith. But Obi-Wan clearly has no faith. So let's talk about the actual duel itself a little bit. You guys have brought it up a little bit. So stage 1 of the duel is what I like to call the Monty Python moment, where Vader stands across from him, ignites his lightsaber. Obi-Wan pulls out his lightsaber, holds it shakingly in his hand, and runs away. Run away! It is the knights running from the monster. He just flat out doesn't want to engage.
I'm not saying Obi-Wan's a coward, but it's cowardly behavior.
I don't know if it's coward. I don't know if it's cowardice though, and I've thought about this very carefully. I think for the last 10 years, I think he's had a lot of difficulty with what he did to Anakin. I don't think he's ever had comfort with what he was forced to do and the way that he left that. And I think that he's hesitant to fight his brother again. Even though it's, he's not recognizable. I don't think he wants to put him to the sword again. I think that a lot of this is not just him being afraid of Darth Vader. I don't think he's ever come to terms with what he had to do the first time around. And I don't think he wants to raise arms against his brother again.
Well, I think what he's done to him, because well, I mean, that's the first thing he says to him is he says, what has become, what have you become? And his response is, what you made me.
Which is very appropriate in that moment, which is very appropriate.
Yeah. James Earl Jones, by the way, he's back, boys. We got the real voice of Darth Vader.
Did we expect anything else though?
You never know. The dude's 91. I actually had this conversation with somebody yesterday. I mean, 91 years old, and he sounds better than he did in Rogue One.
But it's like all computer modulated stuff. Like, it honestly freaks me out a little bit that you can replicate somebody's voice from past recordings and everything. I don't even think they brought him into the booth to voice it. That's how I read it, and maybe I'm wrong.
I read it that they brought him in to do the performance, and they actually overdubbed a couple of lines with Hayden Christensen to get both of their deliveries. Like, if you listen, there are a couple of lines that actually you can hear a little bit excuse me, you can hear a little bit of Hayden in there. Uh, but then they actually fight, and there have been I've seen as you guys have that folks have been a little unhappy that maybe it was not as glorious of a fight as one would have expected. Um, I had no problems with it because Obi-Wan is basically not fighting. He's just trying to fend off anything that comes at him. And it's classic Darth Vader when he's not out for the kill, when he's just toying with him in it a little bit. Like he's pushing him towards where he can light him on fire. Like if Vader wanted it, he could have taken him out at any time. But instead, he's doing like what he does with Luke or what he does with Ezra. He's fighting one-handed, quick, easy lances just to beat him back. And much as he lures Luke into where he wants him, he lures Obi-Wan back into the mine as soon as he sees him there. He hoists him up into the sky, strips him of his lightsaber, all with one hand, while igniting whatever material it is that they mine on that planet. Lights it ablaze. And from your favorite comic books, guys, this is a dream that Anakin has had about returning the favor and burning Obi-Wan Kenobi alive. He pulls him into the flames and drags him across the burning embers of that mineral.
Brutal.
He is on. It's brutal. It's absolutely brutal. I mean, what did you guys think about seeing this from Vader and Obi-Wan's total lack of ability to do anything about it?
He wants to make him suffer. I love, for 10 years, Anakin has been brooding and hating and suffering, in the words of Yoda. And he's dragging it out. He's toying with him, like exactly like you said. He didn't want to kill Obi-Wan that night. He wants to kill Obi-Wan eventually, but his entire plan was to make him suffer as much as he possibly can. And the fire was not unintentional. He wants him to burn the way Anakin burned. He wants him to feel all the pain that Anakin felt. And I loved it, like in a dark, twisted way. I love it.
Yeah, I mean, again, it reinforces what we've been saying, Mike. He's monstrous. I mean, he's not in this to just kill Obi-Wan Kenobi. He wants to make him suffer. He wants to torture him. He wants to take everything from him the way that everything was taken from him. And I mean, it's going to make the rest of this series is going to be interesting, because I will say the way that this has played out, the introduction of Vader, the early introduction of Vader, all of these things, I think, for me, are happening much sooner than I had anticipated. I thought we would get Vader in like episode 5 or 6. I didn't think we would get him at the end of 2 and then be dueling in 3. To me, I think this really changes the trajectory of what 4, 5, and 6 are going to be, but it also just changes the arc of the story. Like, this story is about these two men. I mean, Leia's kind of, let's face it. I'm not saying anything bad about her or the character. She's doing great work. I actually really love it. But now Leia has turned into a little bit of a MacGuffin. That the story is about these two men and the relationship that they had, the splintered relationship. You see that obviously from the recap that we get at the beginning of the show before anything runs. This is going to be about Obi-Wan and Anakin, and it's going to be about this conflict, and this is going to be the main thing, which is going to resolve by the end of episode 6. Leia has become a MacGuffin. We know she's going to get back to Bail. Like you said, there's no stakes in that. The intriguing story, the most interesting plot line is going to be these two men, the conflict that they have, and how that gets resolved until we see them again at the beginning of New Hope.
But I think you bring up something interesting there about you guys both said this about, he doesn't want to necessarily even kill him that night. After he's burned him, he puts the fire out for a minute. The stormtroopers come in. He's ready to haul him away. I think I might have texted you, Mark, because we have our Pulp Fiction moments. It was Marcellus Wallace in Pulp Fiction. I'm not through with you by a damn sight. I'm about to get medieval on you. Who knows what was in store for Obi-Wan if Vader and the Inquisitors had taken him away. But then probably one of the strangest moments in the episode, I have my theories, but I think we'd be remiss not to talk about it, is the rebel who is there to help Obi-Wan and Leia. She's running what is essentially the intergalactic underground railroad called the Path, where they are sneaking out Jedis. Great Mudhorn egg, by the way, that Quinlan Voss is apparently a Jedi helping to run people through the path.
Did you
She
guys
ends
take
up
that as
blowing up.
Quinlan is coming? A lot of people are taking that as Quinlan is in this show and will appear in the next episode or two. I am not at all convinced of that.
No, not necessarily, but I like the idea that he survived Order 66 and he's out there somewhere. I think that makes for some cool storytelling.
And he could know something with the Inquisitors too, because he's got kind of his dark side past as well. But I think a lot of people took that as he's going to pop up, and I'm not so sure. Like it's
I don't.
but I'm not
No,
sure.
It's a name
nice
drop.
Mudhorn egg. Nice name drop. But then, so this rebel blows up some nearby machinery that creates a new, larger fire that separates them. And people are saying, well, why didn't Vader snuff out the flame again? Why didn't Vader jump over the flames? He's in a flame retardant outfit. Why did we're coming up on time for our episode here. We didn't really get to talk about the Fortress Inquisitorius and where the Inquisitors have gone. We'll pick up that next week when we see where Reva has gone with Leia. But let's wrap here, because I think if we don't talk about this, we're going to miss a really big point. Why, to take us home, why didn't Vader push through the flames? What was the significance of him standing there with the flames dancing in his eyes?
Because he likes the game. Honestly, the only way that this works for me, he likes the game.
The dog caught his tail. He didn't know what to do with it.
He likes this game. This isn't about killing Obi-Wan outright. Now that he knows he's got him right where he wants him and he's got him on the run, he's enjoying the hunt. And I mean, we even saw this in episode 1. They're hunting for scraps. And then she says, let's find a bigger game. That's what this is about for Vader and the Inquisitors. I mean, like, what else are they going to do if not hunt Jedi? This is all they have left. I mean, what are they going to do? Paperwork? I mean, what are they going to I mean, seriously, like, what are they going to do? Mop up a battle? This is their existence, and this is what gets them out of bed. Hunting Obi Wan Kenobi is exciting. Why put an end to this? Let it go on. Like, let this play out. This is what is going to wake him up tomorrow morning. He's going to wake up and say, time to hunt Obi-Wan again.
I think Tala is an interesting character. I'm kind of excited to see more of her. I just hope that Pedro Pascal doesn't meet the same end if he ever meets her that he did in Game of Thrones. But last thing for me, I did have a huge Emperor's New Groove moment at the end, how Reva somehow beats Leia to the end of the tunnel. By all accounts, it doesn't make sense. I was hoping that the X-Wing pilot was going to be somebody potentially that we knew. I'm still holding out hope for a Cal Kestis or somebody that we don't know is in this show. So I was kind of hoping for the X-Wing pilot to be something. But overall, I think Reva's an interesting character. I'm excited to see where that side goes. I'm excited to see more of Vader and Obi-Wan.
Awesome. Well, again, because we're lucky, it comes out on Wednesdays. We're only 2 days away. And then after that, we're only another 3 days away before we all get back together to talk about this for everybody. So, as always, like and subscribe, share with your friends, and join us back here again next Sunday night at 8 p.m. Eastern, 5 p.m. Pacific, as we dive into Obi Wan Kenobi Episode 4. Thanks so much for tuning in, gents. On the Jedi Council, thanks as always. May the Force be with you.
Always.
Always.